What was your early days like? Was there a mentor you had growing up that got you into basketball? Was it a family thing that got you into basketball? Or was it more so just you wanted to be a hooper and it turned into something great?
I think it was where I grew up at in Charlotte was right across from a YMCA. And so at age 5, my mom was just like pumping me through all the different sports, like soccer, baseball, basketball. I was playing a sport every season. So I just loved competing. If like anybody could win or lose, I just wanted to be a part
just
of
playing
it.
the game.
Yeah, and just being active. Like I was a super active kid. I could never sit still. So I was playing those 3 sports and also doing, gymnastics and swimming. But I think basketball is like just what I really fell in love with.
That really stuck.
Yeah, and the one that stuck for sure. And by the time I was 10, it was like, okay, this is like really becoming all I want to do.
So pretty early, about 10.
Yeah, for sure. I think like 5 to, 9, I was probably just at the YMCA, and then by 10 years old, I think I was starting to play a little AAU.
Yeah.
And it was rolling since then. It's been rolling, and I think I knew at an early age that I wanted to play in college and play pro, and I never really looked back.
When did that actually make that transition to be like my training is geared more towards like I'm gonna become? Did it go college or I want to go college pro? Like college was just gonna be your stepping stone to pro. Like you already knew you wanted to be a professional basketball player one day. And what did that grind look like? What did the process look like to getting to Tennessee? First off.
Yeah. I think I was like 5 years old when I told my mom that I wanted to play college hoops, and probably when I started like playing AAU and on the circuit and whatnot, probably by 7th grade, I knew I wanted to play pro. I didn't exactly know what that looked like. I think the main focus was like just being the best player I can be today, and then just seeing where it can take me. And I was just a gym rat. Like I wasn't like thinking about certain skill development to get to this point. It was just like, this is what I love doing. And I just want to be in the gym every single day. Like I was like, no days off type mentality, to the point that like my high school coach would have to kick me out the gym. In college, I was on like gym probation because I was in the gym too much. So it was like, this is just what I love to do, And growing up, my mom didn't have the money to pay for like personal training or skill development. So I really just relied on the coaches that I had, or the random people at the YMCA that would be willing to like just plant seeds here and there. So it really took a village. It wasn't until probably my junior year in high school, maybe my sophomore year in high school, that I actually started going to like a facility and having like skill development training. So I think just more so like my love and passion for the game and just like being in the gym all the time.
And it just all built up to being what it was today.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Exactly.
Like I was already a driven kid, like kind of how you were. I was in the gym all the time. Like I knew I needed to get better year to year if I wanted to reach the goal. I didn't know I was going to play in college, honestly, until I was a late bloomer. I got to my senior year, didn't have really a lot of offers. And I just kept working towards it every day because I was like, I knew I loved to play basketball.
That's why you're playing your best basketball right now.
Literally, because it's like I love the game, but I didn't know how to get there. I had no guidance towards it. But I think the biggest thing that kept me through it all was my coach. He was like a mentor to me. He kept me strong in my faith. He's basically the building block, and I hope to be an extension of him one day. And that's kind of what my whole brand is now, just kind of carrying on from that and showing people that even if you are that late bloomer coming out of high school, you can still turn your life around and turn it into something cool with the basketball world, pro, college. Like it's really endless, like especially the way it is now with social media. Like I'm seeing guys all the time that are like working on their craft at 30, 20 like years old, just learning to play basketball, and they're playing on high level circuits and overseas 3-on-3. Like we'll get into that later too. But yeah, it's just cool to have that mentor. Do you feel like you had that one coach that really pushed you to getting better too? Because I know you wanted it already, but was there that person when you were having those ups and downs during your seasons to be like, you're good, like I'm going to keep you on this goal?
I think I can credit Tim Fields. He was my AAU coach from the time I was like 11 until 16, where he just like really taught me so much about the game. in terms of like my footwork, working out of my triple threat, my pivot series, how to read the defense. And anytime I called him, texted him, he would come pick me up and we'd be on black tops. We'd be in all different types of gyms. Like he really just took me under his wing, and I think he saw the love that I had for the game, and also like my potential that I could be, you know, one of the best in the state and beyond. So I think he saw that early, and so in terms of just like building the foundation, I credit him all the time for that, because I learned a lot from him, and just the amount of time that we spent in the gym and on black tops and the tournaments that, you know, he would take me to, and where I just really grew and progressed. And then, you know, my high school coach, Stephanie Butler, she's like the first person that told me, hey, you're gonna be an Olympian. And I was like, Coach, you're crazy. Like, you're crazy. Like, I'm good, but I'm not superstar. Like, to be on the 5-on-5 national team, that's superstar level. I mean, that's the best 12 players in the world. But she was like, no, just, you're gonna be an Olympian. So she saw like potential in me that I didn't even see in myself. And I think it's like so important to have people like that in your circle. You know, those that can keep you grounded, but also like uplift you and help you like see a vision that you can't even see for yourself in that moment. So those two people were definitely instrumental in just like my youth and my growth. And then obviously my staff at Tennessee, you know, being able to play under Pat Summitt was like biggest blessing. Getting recruited by her and then playing under her my freshman year, and just the lessons I learned from her, not even so much like in between these lines, like on the court, but just like off the court, how she carried herself, how she demanded excellence in every area and aspect of her life, how she interacted with others. You know, it could have been so easy for her to be condescending or arrogant, and she just wasn't. Like, she was so down to earth and humble. And as much as she did for the women's game, like the same way she would talk to the president of the United States is the same way she would talk to, you know, the people that cleaned up our arena after games. Like, she was just, you know, an MVP coach, but like also just one of the greatest human beings I've ever met. And then my assistant coach, Dean Lockwood, the amount of hours that we spent in the gym, like, you can't even count. Like, and he just taught me a lot about like being a pro, just like coming in to work every single day, and putting in the extra time, and then just kind of trusting that the results will happen. And my college career was like this, especially in the beginning, and he just really kept me grounded and solid through it all. And you know, we spent a lot of time on the court, but also just a lot of time in the office having so many conversations about just life. So I love that man. He's probably, aside from Pat, he's probably like my favorite coach of all time.
That's awesome. Like you said too, like with the village behind it, like I think it's so important to have that. Like I said, my high school coach, you have Pat Summitt, obviously 2 different levels, but in the sense of that, it's like, it's crazy how like you can turn that connection and it almost turns you into like the byproduct of them later. Like, cause I feel like I see that same vision of everything you just said, all the qualities of Pat Summitt, I see it through you. And now I'm the younger person talking to the mentor of being older. You know, like seeing that with, like just when I talked to you, like I told Tim earlier, just from the day I met you, it's not like you pro or big time me early. Like, you know, you already had the success, you've done so much things with USA basketball. And for me to come in as a nobody, you know, like just a practice player or whatever, you didn't know my background, you didn't know me from anybody. But like from the day I could come in and you just showed me, like if you were talking to the president of USA basketball, of me on the court, you know, and just asking about like details of life, I think that just brings so much value to you as a person, but also like sharing that with other people, making them want to do that too. That makes me be like, I can never be too big for anybody, regardless of how big I get, because I'm like, if the biggest are doing it at this stage, who am I to change that? So that's why I've always,
I appreciate that, D.
That's why I've always kept you around for so long too, like, and wanted you to have, like, be a part of everything, and just wanting to have you in my circle for so long.
That's love.
Just like from day one, to be like, when I talked to you in Springfield at USA basketball, it was almost like we hadn't seen each other for a little bit, but it was like still that instant connection. Like we just had that same vibration of, like, we're coming here, but like we're not too big for any moment.
No.
Like, I'm going to keep it here. I'm like, we're person to person. We're humans at the beginning of the day. The byproduct of how good we are on a basketball court means nothing. You know, it's just
100%.
something that we're good at.
Yeah.
But I think just being a Hall of Fame person, that will give you success on the court too.
Absolutely.
Just having those good personality traits. But yeah, so we'll shift from there. That was a really good topic though. Going back to like how your mom said she didn't have enough money and stuff to get you through development coaches and like what all these kids have nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, like I feel like if you're not training now, you're almost behind in an aspect. Do you feel like you would have benefited from having like a skills trainer early? Or do you feel like you wanted to work on more playing the game rather than doing skill work and individual?
So I think I was fortunate in the sense that my coach was not only a coach, but he could help me with my skill development. So like Fields, like I said, he like really laid the groundwork and the foundation for who I was as a player. And I think he was big on not putting me in a box, you know. I think early in my career, I could have easily just been like that 4 or 5 because, you know, I was 6 foot playing AAU. Like it's natural for you to just be stuck in the post. But he was like adamant about like working on all levels and aspects of the game. And so I was fortunate in the sense that, yeah, my mom couldn't afford like personal training, but I had a coach that was willing to do this stuff for free, just because he saw how invested I was and how much I loved it. And I think, you know, he also loved it. And so I think it really just all worked out. Like I couldn't be more grateful for like the village that I've had growing up and even now. And then when, you know, I was able to go to skill development facilities, they really looked out for me because they knew my situation. Coming from a single parent household. So it was a sense like they looked out and just because I was coming in every day and working, you know.
And it's hard not to deny that. You don't want to deny that ever. You see somebody that's willing to work and love the game, like I would do it for free, you know, and I'm doing it for free now for the most part. And it's like, and I love it, but it's out of love, you know.
Exactly. And when you see somebody who's just as invested as you are, like you want to help them. And so I've just, people really looked out for me and my mom when when I was growing up, and it really did take a village. And I say all the time, like the most selfless thing my mom did was kind of let go and let other people have like an imprint on me, because she didn't know anything about basketball. Like this was all
same. I'm the only basketball player in my family.
Exactly. So like, you really have to rely on other people. And my mom like sought out, you know, other mentors in the basketball world that had gone through this, who their daughter had been recruited and had to go through the whole college thing. And she leaned on Boris Cheek, who was actually my mentor's father. My mentor is Joy Cheek. And so like Joy was mentoring me, and Boris was mentoring my mom. So it really worked out to help us like navigate, you know, AAU, showcase, college recruiting, because that stuff can become overwhelming, especially if you have no experience.
And it was for me too, getting recruited for college, because like I said, I didn't expect to go to college to be a basketball player. Like I knew I wanted to go to college for education-wise, but going from the basketball standpoint, it was like a whirlwind. Like I started getting calls, started getting texts, like we want you to play here, we want this, and I was like, that just was so out of my realm. But it was so nice to have, it would have been nicer to have a mentor like that kind of coached me through it. Like I figured it out and we got there. But just to having those resources is huge. But going back to not training in a box, I feel like that's super important, like in the terms of skills training too, like the way I try to train. I get a lot of young, like what's your advice too for a lot of young girls or a lot of young boys too that come in as 7th and 6th graders that happen to be a little bit taller than the other kids, and some trainers going ahead and limiting them to, or coaches limiting them to like the block. How do you feel about how their training should be structured as a middle schooler blooming into high school?
So training at those young ages is so interesting to me because, like I said, I didn't really get into training until like my sophomore or junior year of college. My hesitation with youth and like specific training is that they burn out. Like we're seeing it a lot where parents are just like throwing their 9-year-old in skills training and making them go 3-4 times a week, and then by the time they're 13, they don't love it anymore. So I think you have to find that balance, especially with the younger athletes of like, this is a game. It's supposed to be enjoyed.
Right.
And there's supposed to be like camaraderie with your teammates and just being able to roll out the ball and play and have fun. Like there's that aspect that you want to tap into. And then I get that there's also that organized aspect of it where you don't just want to roll out the ball and let them play. You want them to teach, you want to teach them and lay a foundation. So I think finding that balance is key because you don't want to force kids to play or train. Like you want them to do it because they want to do it, because they love it. Because if they don't love it, what are we doing?
Exactly.
Like if they're not enjoying it or they're not having fun.
It's not a game anymore. Now it's like a job.
And why are we trying to make our 9-year-olds have
little
a job?
kids.
Yeah, you know, it's supposed to be enjoyed. So I think the best trainers are laying that foundation and teaching, but also allowing the kids to have fun.
Some freedom in their game.
Exactly. And they aren't putting them in a box.
Right.
Like the taller kids, like naturally, at least for me, like I was tripping over my feet, like, and I was a late bloomer, like physically in terms of like strength. Like I went into college and couldn't even do like a solid full push-up.
Oh
so
my gosh.
like I was a string bean.
Right,
like my nickname in high school was Noodle. So so there's gonna be some learning curves for like taller athletes if you're asking them to like break down like a guard, but like that's only gonna help them down the line. And that early failure, like you want them to experience that.
Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
And I think the best trainers understand that. So, finding the ability to teach, but also make it fun, and also like playing into their strengths, but also getting them to tap into their weaknesses. Like I think the best trainers are able to do all of that.
And also I think being even one of the better trainers, it's like you're looking at it from the aspect of the bigger picture. Like not training, I'm not going to teach you to be a 7th grade post player just so you can win your middle school championship.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're an all-around player. Like you're very skilled in all aspects of the game. Like I think that comes from the work you said, not being limited at an early age. Like your style of training was probably more like you were basically the birth of the point forward.
Yeah.
Like honestly, you were one of the point forwards before that was even a thing. And I think that just comes from early development of having freedom in your game. And like you said, not having that coach of a box telling you you're going to play the post and we're going to work on post moves, turn fades, and post hooks. That's all we're going to work on. And then by the time you developed into that player, that's all you knew. And the game changes, as you know. Like it's probably changed from when you were in Tennessee even to now as an Olympian. So just kind of keying on that, like, how do you feel like with training nowadays? Do you feel like it's getting more to where it's getting more skilled, kind of distancing away from the old school style of training?
I definitely think like people are really getting in their bag.
Yeah,
like,
right.
I think
young ages.
Yeah. I think players are just more skilled now. I mean, you see it on the college level. You're seeing it in the pros. Like high school kids can go.
They can go.
They can go. Like their bag is deep and they're skilled. And I think it, again, just not putting people in a box, allowing them to have like the freedom to get creative with their own style of play.
Definitely.
You're seeing, female players that are like doing things that you only used to see men do.
Absolutely.
So I think like we're also like crossing that barrier where it's like men and women are doing the same thing. And they're training the same way.
The skill gap's starting to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can argue like, hey, actually women are more skilled because we don't necessarily have the athletic piece that men have on. There's that argument. But in terms of just like you're seeing college players now that have like Steph and Kyrie, he like handles on the women's side. And that's just fun to see. It's an entertaining style of basketball.
Because the game is changing, man. It's like it's getting the most skilled it's ever been, but also the most competitive. I feel like now it's just like we're going at it, like we're doing skills training, but also having the blend of having play in too, like being able to play games. And it's like that was one of my bigger arguments with some coaches that I've talked to. It's like, where did you value most as a player for yourself going through it, did you value more individual training of your own game, or did you value, I'm trying to play more games at that age?
I was always, I want to get in the gym, be with a trainer, and it be a basket and a ball, and that's it.
And we're getting, okay.
Yeah, I was so like weird as like a high school and college player, and even the first few years of my pro career, like I just wanted individual workouts. I did not like other people being in my workouts. I was like, you're taking my reps.
Right, right. Absolutely.
I was like super selfish when it came to my workouts. Now as I've gotten older, I'm like, nah, you can actually get quality work in having like 2 or 3 other people. But for sure, like when I was younger, I was like, nah, I just want solo workouts and I just want like skill development. Like to this day, like I love it. Like this is my favorite thing to do, to come just like work on your game. And like, I was thinking this morning, like on the drive here, like progress is so addictive. Like just seeing a little bit of progress, like you just want more.
Seen it today, and that's only been a couple.
You get greedy with it.
Yep.
The problem is people quit before they see that little glimpse of progress. But once you see it, it's like, it becomes like,
it's addiction.
It's a drug. Progress is a drug. So I like got addicted early because I just would see like the benefits and the rewards of the work that I was putting in. So that became like my sanctuary. Like these individual workouts with my trainer and my coach, like that was really my therapy sessions. So I personally I like this more, the skill development aspect of it. Yeah,
because nowadays I feel like kids are playing so many games. And it's like, I don't have a problem with that in the sense of like, you're just playing basketball in general. But the problem starts to come with, now I feel like we're just compounding those bad habits, right? Because like if you cut out skill work completely and you just play games, if you're struggling in your games and you're just doing a million reps of the same thing,
you're digging yourself in a deeper hole.
That's madness, right?
Yeah.
Because now you're just repeating that same bad habit that you have, and you're not breaking it down from the skill standpoint. And just even like getting repetitions of the right thing, or having somebody to tell you that's not the right thing you should be doing. Like, so I think that's where the game can shift, is like skill development is becoming much more important, and why the people are getting more skilled. I think they'll be realizing that now.
Yeah.
Like, because I know the overseas game and like the foreigners playing, like they rely more on skill development. And that, it's no secret that they're one of the most skilled like players in the league, or just in all areas. You know, like you were saying yesterday, the European players on the team, it's like they're just skilled. They're more skilled, and I feel like it's so much easier to translate a skilled player to a system rather than a system player to a skill.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like it just feels way off, and it's a lot easier to make the merge when you're already skilled and you can play in any system. Because you're a well-rounded player. Yeah, but it's really hard to get a player that's used to one thing all the time, bad habits, for instance, and trying to put them somewhere else. They usually will fall out. And I think that's a great segue to the 3-on-3 game. That was my next question with you, was, as an all-around player, do you feel like that is one of the better things to have as a to be good in 3-on-3?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Do you feel like you need to be an all-around style player? Is that like...
I do. I do. I mean, I think 3x3 really plays into like my style, like where you've got to be able to guard multiple positions. You've got to be able to guard all over the court. But offensively, like you've got to be able to do a little bit of everything. Got
to be creative. 3-on-3, I've never seen it you have to be so creative in an aspect of half court. Like you're getting into actions, but it's got to be creative actions. You know, you can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. It's not going to work.
Your IQ has to be on another level. And I think that's why I really took to the 3x3 style, because like you really have to think the game. Like you can't just get away with
sitting in the corner and hiding.
It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work.
Or like running a simple action, like the defense is going to figure it out after one rep. So it's like, how can you continue to evolve, or what's the read once the defense makes the adjustment? So it's like a chess match.
It's almost like more of a think in the game, right? And just relying on strictly, I'm going to get downhill and score every time because I got shooters in the corner.
And it's not sustainable.
You ain't got it like that.
Yeah. You know, you can't play one-on-one and expect to be successful in 3x3. It's just, it's too hard of a game. It's too physically demanding. So it forces you to play team basketball, and it forces you to think, which is what I love. And then it also, the more versatile you are, the more valuable you become to your team. So, you know, me being able to sit down and guard a shifty guard, and then
the next possession,
I'm guarding their 6'4" 4 forward, like that has value. Like the fact that I can, switch out or well, you're not making any hedges in 3x3, but you get what I'm saying. Like you can just, there's different styles of defense and offense that you can play if you're able to be more versatile out there. And so I think that's why I've been able to stick so much with the 3x3 and like be like a cornerstone for USA basketball with 3x3 is just my versatility and
definitely
my dedication to just learning the game and continuing to learn the game.
Right.
And watching film and seeing how we can be better or what actions we can run differently or what defensive schemes can we make for the next game. Like that's crucial in 3x3.
Literally, because like looking at you, like I would say you are the mold of what a 3x3 player should be. Like you want a point forward on the court that can just do so many things. Like you said, you can switch to the big, but you can also guard the guard up top. But like when you have the ball in your hands, there's a threat at all times. You can dribble it, you're going to make the right play, you're going to make the pass, but you also have the IQ of the game that I can get into an action and find another way to score.
Right.
Like you're not one-dimensional, which is where I feel like that's the difference between being like growing up a 3-on-3 player and just playing 5 strictly. You get the bad habits of sitting still in the corner. Like if you're not a good player, they usually just throw you somewhere.
Yeah.
And you're hiding. But like 3-on-3, like you said, if you learn that early, there's no hiding out there. It's 3 guys here, 3 here. Like we're going at it, and like hopefully you guys can figure it out. I think you definitely have to think the game more in threes, and you have to work on using more of your spacing, like understanding spacing better, even in threes.
Spacing and then change of pace.
Yeah.
Like you have to play with speed. 100% with a 12-second shot clock, like you don't have time to waste.
Yep, it's a scramble. It's constant scramble for 12 minutes.
You don't have 10 minutes, You don't have time to waste. So it's like playing with pace, being able to change, being fast but not sped up. Like there's definitely a difference, and it's hard to find that balance, because that 12-second shot clock, you're thinking like it's frantic.
If you miss your first action, people are panicking to like we got to force something now.
Exactly, but once you get into a flow and you actually understand 3x3, you can understand that 12 seconds is actually a lot of time if you know what you're doing and where you're going. Now, if you've got wasted movements, then yes, that 12-second shot clock is all of a sudden at 3 and you're trying to just jack something up. So 3x3 is definitely a game where you have to get more and more experience to get better.
And you can't waste dribbles. Like you said, you can't waste movement, you can't waste dribbles. Like it's the most, I feel like, one of the best ways to learn basketball, honestly, I feel like is the 3x3 game. Like if you want to be a great player and learn how to play out of actions and not be in such a crowded environment, I think it's literally the most clear-cut way for you to see individually yourself get better throughout it. But also to learn the game. I think that is one of the best ways to learn the game is through that 3-on-3 style.
I agree.
Because it's a scramble. You're thinking about a clock the same as you would in 5s. But now it's just more amplified, and it's faster, and you're involved in everything. There's never a time when you're standing still. So I think just pushing that and having kids play more 3-on-3 would just overall benefit us as a culture.
For sure. Like
for sure, the basketball culture would just I feel like that's huge. I feel like it's huge. Nice. So now the segue too, I wanted to ask you now as a pro, going into that way of being, when you're getting recruited, I wouldn't say recruited, but getting signed to play pro ball. Like, what are some of the things that your agents are telling you or that the other teams are looking for in a player? Like, is it more beneficial to be a skill-based player where you're going to provide scoring, you provide something to a team, or is it better to be a long-term like teammate? Like going into the game being like, I can fit with this system, he's a likable person. Like, what are agents kind of preaching to these teams when you're getting signed?
I think it depends on the team and the club and the country.
What they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Because there's teams out there that just want scores. That just want, we're going to give you the ball, we need you to get a bucket. That's out there for sure. Like Israel is definitely a country in a league that relies more on their Americans to do the scoring load. Like they sign 3 Americans and they expect y'all to be getting busy 20 to 15 points each game. And y'all got to carry the load for the team. That's not really my style of play. Like I've played in Israel before, and I earned a lot of respect over there. But I'm not a 20 and 10 type of player. Like I can give you a solid 12 to 15, and I'm gonna probably give you 10 to 12 boards. So in Israel, like I'm gonna give you my double-double. But I think you have to figure out what you do well as a player. Like I've made my living overseas, and my reputation over there is I'm a professional. I'm going to come in and I'm going to work. I'm going to be a great teammate. I'm going to make people around me better. I'm a high IQ team first player, and that holds value over there. And I'm going to make the right play. Like I'm not going to come out here and try to force shots. I could go through an entire game and not take one shot attempt, and I'm okay.
Because you're making the right plays. If that's not what the play is,
if we're winning and I'm contributing by getting my teammates involved, by playing defense, by crashing the glass, getting boards, like I'm contributing in other ways. I don't have to score to contribute to a game. And I think young players, the sooner they realize that, the more valuable they'll become. Because at the end of the day, what percentage of players are going to become Kevin Durant's, Steph Curry's, Ant Edwards, like the go-to guys for NBA teams? There's 1 or 2 on every team. So that means there's 13 other players that are having to figure out what their role is and excel in their role. So I think like once you figure out, and it looks different every year. Like earlier in my career, I was that, hey, give her the ball at the high post and let her get busy, like ISO type of player. In Poland, I was like scoring the most I played in my whole career. And that was like from the time I was probably 23 to 26. And then when I was like 27, I was probably hitting my prime, but I was also playing on top teams. Like and so I didn't have to score as much because we got plenty of people around us that can score. And I think you really realize that when you go overseas, like the best teams in Europe have multiple people that can score. So it's like, how can you play with these other players and can you carve out your role and excel in your role? So I think I've like built my brand of being able to do that. Like I'm truly a chameleon. Whatever you need me to do, I can do it. And I think that's why I'm able to get contract after contract, year in, year out, because I'm reliable and clubs can trust that what I say I'm going to do is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring that every day.
You put words to actions. And like you keep saying the word valuable, and that's so true. It's like if you can do these things off the court and just be a reliable teammate, be a great person, you don't have to be on the court per se scoring 50 a game. Like there's so much value that you can bring to the game without even having to do any of that. And it's like, I feel like that's kind of gotten strayed away from in the young game now is like, if I can't score 20 points a game, I'm not going to go anywhere. You know, and like coming from an all-around player like yourself, like look at the success and the longevity you've had within basketball, just doing the right play. You know, and making the right reads, being a good teammate. Like you can build a career off of that.
100%. I am a living testimony.
A living testimony to that. And it's like, I've only heard good things. Like anytime I've ever talked to anybody about you or heard about you, it's like, she's probably one of the top 5 teammates we've ever had in our whole career. And it's like, that's just a testament of your longevity too. It's like, if you want to stay around the game, treat the game the right way. Play it the right way and treat the people that you're involved with the right way. And you're going to be rewarded in the end.
And I think Americans get such a bad reputation overseas because we come in big-headed, inflated, arrogant. We think every ball needs to be in our hands. And so, like, you almost have to work even harder to kind of dismiss that reputation when you're coming onto a team. Because a lot of the European teammates, like, they've only had sour experiences with their American teammates.
Show them you don't have that ego. Like, you're coming, I'm here to win games the same way you're here to win games.
And once you do that, once you, like, build that trust with them, and they know that, hey, she's here because she wants to win. Like, it's team first. You gain so much respect, not only from your teammates and your staff, but like in the league as a whole, because everybody talks. And so I guess the value aspect of it, like you got to decide what your value is going to be to teams and to clubs and what you value yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is almost the best way you can describe it. Like you as a person, I feel like the way you play basketball is who you are off the court as well. Like I'm very unselfish. I want to get other people involved. but I'm not going to go out there and make the wrong play just out of pure selfishness.
No.
You know, like I'm going to go in there and that's why I feel like it's so important off the court. Like you talked about Pat earlier, whenever she was kind of giving you these core values, building the player or building the person, the player is going to be the byproduct of that.
Right.
You're going to be a successful player based on who you are off the court. So I think putting more time into sometimes that development as a person will translate to your basketball game.
Right.
You know, and get rid of any unselfishness that you have, drop your ego, and then you can build longevity and play the game that we both want to play for a very long time.
100%.
You know, I know there's been highs and lows. I know you, and I know the things that you've battled through and the things that you continue to battle through, like this hip right now, that we're killing it right now. Just what is like your advice to kind of navigating through those rough parts of the journey? Like it's not always the medals, you know, there's sometimes those low points, and it's like, how do you mentally get through those? Like, do you really require more of a village, or do you try to lock in yourself and really get to know yourself and how you can overcome those challenges?
Yeah. It's interesting because like the medals, those like peaks, if you like break it down percentage wise, that's a small percentage. Like when you're feeling like you're on the mountain and nobody can touch you, like I think my mountain moment was when we won the World Cup in 2023. With myself, Lene Harper, Haley Van Lith, and Cam Brink. And then our coaches, Jen and Tammy, like that was a mountain moment in your career. But the lead up to that was rough. Like those 3 weeks preparing, like there were tears, there was people getting cursed out, there was frustration, like, so it's like that journey leading up, it's how do you handle that? Because everybody can handle the mountain moments.
Right.
Everybody can handle those cloud 9 moments. But that's why it's so important for me. It's like finding joy in the journey, because the journey is the large percentage of it. And then having the faith in the village to help you in those valley moments. So it's like, we hope that the valley moments aren't a large percentage of it. Right. But this is life and it happens. So I think having the village to keep you uplifted and in prayer when you are going through those valley moments, and just having the faith to trust that like, hey, the work I put in and the people I surround myself with, all is gonna work out. Like in my like testimony, it always works out greater than anything I could have ever imagined or fathomed. Like I never thought that I was going to be an Olympian. I never thought that I was going to have the chance to represent my country at Paris 2024. Right. But like God's way is greater than my own, you know? And so I think just having that village, like you mentioned, to get you through those valleys and through the journey and through those mountain moments to celebrate you, and just having the faith to like stay steady through it all. One of my college coaches, Kyra Elsie, she said she would always tell me, don't get too high, don't get too low.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that is like just huge in life in general.
Not even just on the court. Like a lot of these things you're saying can all be attributed to real life.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
Absolutely.
So like the valley and the mountain, those are really hopefully just, not hopefully, but they're just small percentages. Like
everyone's shooting for that 1%. When it's like they don't want to do the 99 that it takes, that's going to happen regardless. Right. You know, it's like I feel like that's why there's not a lot of Olympians out there. You know, like there's not a lot of people that are going to push that boundary and be like, I understand the hard times are going to be here, but like I know that 1% is going to be the byproduct of all of this hard work that I put in and all of this time. It's all going to be worth it in the end. But like having that bigger picture, that's what gets you to this. Right. It's not I'm just going to shoot for the medal on day one. And if I don't get it, I'm done, you know, and not limiting yourself early, like having the faith behind it to be like, I'm not going to put a box on myself. God gives me the biggest box that I could ever have, you know, and it's like, I'm just going to live in that box. And wherever I end up after that is going to be the best place where I need to be.
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly. And because I feel like we do limit ourselves. Like I wanted to be a college player. And next thing you know, I'm a trainer that has made the biggest connection, like stuff that I never would have thought. Like being on the boat with LeBron James, looking at the Eiffel Tower in the middle of the rain.
What is life?
That looked like something out of a story, you know?
What is life?
Out of a storybook of you guys like up that. And it's like, that's just so amazing. And it's like a testament to your career too. Like I feel like that was all of the stuff built up for you to just be in that one moment
Yeah.
that probably lasted no longer than probably 20 minutes. You
And
know?
that's why it's so important to like not get fixated on, oh, I got to be the best college player, oh, I got to make it to the NBA, or oh, I got to be an Olympian. Because when you get there, if that's all you were aiming for, then what's next?
Yep.
Like what?
You're going to get there and you're not going to be fulfilled. You're going to get to that moment and it's not going to feel what you thought it was.
Exactly. Because I can honestly say, like, people would be like, oh, the Olympics, that's got to be the highlight of your life, your career. And like, I'm so blessed and fortunate that I got to experience that. And it was beyond my wildest imagination. But like, in terms of like just pure joy and happiness, like, I was happiest at the 2023 World Cup when we were hoisting up the trophy and getting the gold. Like that was like a cloud nine mountain moment. And then obviously the Olympics is like a pinnacle of your career, but the Olympic experience was hard. Like it was tough.
It's a grind.
Mentally, physically, emotionally, it was just a lot. And so if I was just all this time looking forward to the Olympics and then it ends up being harder or tougher or more exhausting than I thought about, I wasted so much time thinking that like that was going to be my joyful moment, when instead you could just be counting the joy in the present day, like where your feet are, finding, like my mom talks about, like being on the lookout for the everyday miracles.
And it's the lessons before. It's the lessons in the journey that make you appreciate the pinnacle of that.
Exactly.
Like all the stuff you had to go through, all the stuff you had to learn before to get you to that moment, to where now I feel like you get to that moment and it's all flashing through your head at the same time of, wow, I got through this, I did this. And it's like, you never really take a chance to sit back on that until you reach that pinnacle and like look back and see how far the journey actually has been and how far you came. Like one day you just pop up, open your eyes and you're like, wow, how did I get here?
How did I get here?
How did I get here? So it's like through all those fast moments of that, like you just learn from stuff. You learn from stuff, you grow as a person, and that's the beauty of the whole journey. And then the trophy at the end, that is just the testament of everything you went through, pretty much. So I think that's a good way to wrap up. I think that was a really good talk. A lot of really good points. And,
Get this, Tim.
Fuck it.
Oh,
Next one.
Imagine if that would have went in.
Imagine, right? This is the
cut.
Take two.
Oh, all right, just wasn't
so first ever CB DMT collab.
Yes, coffee time.
Awesome talk, coffee time.
I'm gonna make us some coffee mugs. Tim, I'll get you one too.